Hey everyone, and welcome back to Yu-Gi-Oh! Dueling. So today let me introduce you to one more mat farming deck that I have been using to get the mat for, wait for it, this giant dank beast, Hamon, Lord of Striking Thunder. Now just a fair warning before I begin here, before I introduce you to this deck. This deck requires a lot of patience, so hopefully you have it, because the summoning conditions for this monster are pretty insane. This monster is really hard to summon, so yeah, it will take you a while to actually get the mat for Hamon, you know? As you can see here, if you read his description, cannot be normal summoned set, must be special summoned from your hand by sending 3 face-up continuous spell cards you control to the graveyard, and cannot be special summoned by other ways. So yeah, basically to summon him you need to have 3 continuous spell cards on the field, so that's pretty ridiculous requirement to get this guy on the field, you know. But yeah, overall this deck, it can get Hamon on the field somewhere around from 6 to 8 times per duel. It's not probably the best deck in the world for his mat, but that's something that I was able to come up with pretty quickly. Well, I was thinking how I should farm for this mat, and yeah, this deck worked for me. So it's only that it takes a while, you know. So of course in this deck we have Hamon himself here. Next we have Swept Frog. So Swept Frog here is really important simply because it is used here so that you can get your Hamon back to your hand when you summon him, you know, so that you can create a loop, so that you can summon him again later on. So yeah, and I have skill-wise here Restart, simply because I'm using Duel, and Duel doesn't have Draw Sense Water, so yeah, in case you're using a character who has Draw Sense Water, and that would be a good idea, then definitely place Draw Sense Water here as a skill, because you don't need to have Duel as your character to grind for the mat. You can use whatever character you want. I just used Duel so that I can show off Hamon's awesome summoning animation, and that's pretty much it. So, but yeah, Draw Sense Water because you can draw Swept Frog, and if you draw it quickly enough, it can act as your barrier, as your wall, to protect you from the enemy attacks. So, next we have 3 copies of a Card Trader. Well, it's kinda obvious why these cards are here, simply because they are continuous spell cards and we need them to summon Hamon, but also you can actually use Card Trader's effect to your own advantage to get rid of the cards that you don't need in your hand, to get the cards that you actually need from your deck to your hand, you know? So yeah. Next we have 1 copy of Heart of the Underdog. It's kinda useless, also it's here just to fulfill the requirement to summon Hamon, and that's it. The effect of this card is not useful in this deck at all, so I just needed something to place here, you know. So next we have 2 copies of Shards of Greed. Once again, you won't be using the effect of this card at all, although you may think that you need it to draw cards, but no, it is simply here because it's a continuous spell card, and we need it to summon Hamon. So next we have 3 copies of Temple of the Kings. So this continuous spell card also is here, well, for obvious reasons, right? But also it's really nice for its effect, because as you can see, when you place Temple of the Kings, you can actually use trap cards instantly in the same turn. So that can actually help out in this deck. As you can see, we have a lot of trap cards in this deck, so yeah, this effect will be really helpful here. So next we have 1 copy of a Different Dimension Capsule. This card is here so that you can fetch your either Hamon or Swept Frog to your hand much more faster. Well, usually that's how it will work. Maybe in some other occasions when you'll have these both cards in your hand already, then maybe you'll fetch some other card to your hand, you know? So okay, next 3 cards are Jars of Avarice. These cards are really important so that we can extend our summoning of Hamon, you know? Basically how it will work, when we'll run out of cards, we'll yeah, shuffle 5 cards that are in our graveyard to our deck, and these cards will be these continuous spell cards that we use to summon Hamon, so that we can summon in the future even more Hamon onto the field, you know. So yeah. Next we have yeah, something for our drawing power, 3 Jars of Greed, and of course the final 2 cards are Graceful Tear and Localized Tornado, so that our opponent is not running out of cards, because once again we'll be maximizing our turns in the duel. So yeah, these 2 cards will help us to fulfill our goal. As you can see, we don't have anti-deck out options for ourselves, simply because we have these Jars of Avarice here, and they kinda deal with that. So yeah, how this deck works, how this deck operates, you will see just in a moment. And once again, I advise you to farm the mat for this monster from Bonds level 10, simply because he's the weakest duelist, like, ever. So okay, now let's see how this deck works in action here. So the idea for this deck actually came to me when I was farming for Uriah game mat. The idea was actually the same, pretty much like here, only there you had to use not continuous spell cards, but continuous trap cards, if I remember correctly. Okay, so our starting hand is pretty shitty, so we used restart, and our starting hand is once again pretty shitty, so there's nothing we can do. So we just hope that we either draw Swap Frog or Hamon! So yeah, Draw Sense Water is really helpful in this deck, so... Okay, so yeah, we can summon actually Hamon, so let's do that, and let's enjoy this spicy and laggy animation. I guess it's laggy because he's, well, Thunderstruck! Or something like that. But no, that's just my PC. Oops. So yeah, now that we have this big freaking giant wall on the field, there's nothing that the opponent can do to us. Yeah, summoning Hamon also works not only Swept Frog first, you know. Hamon is even bigger wall. So, and yeah, now let's just keep on summoning stuff, keep on setting and activating stuff, so that we can summon Hamon even more. As you can see, I have Swept Frog, and I used Swept Frog's effect to actually get Hamon to my hand. So, and as you can see, opponent, he has monsters which have 1000 attack power. It's the same attack power as my Swept Frog, actually, and for whatever reason, Bonds is not attacking Swept Frog with one of his monsters to destroy the monster, you know? So that's kinda odd. So... And also, as you can see, because of Temple of the King's effect, sometimes we can use the effect of that card to our own advantage to activate, for example, drawing traps in the same turn that we are setting them, you know, and stuff like that. So yeah, Temple of the Kings is really helpful here. As well as Card Trader to swap cards from our hand that we don't need to the deck to draw some other card. I usually use a Card Trader to swap these Jars of Avarice that I don't need currently for some other card, you know, so... Yeah, I used different Dimension Capsule here, not on Hamon or Swap Frog, but actually for one of the cards that is needed for Bonds, that he's not running out of cards, you know, so... And yes, with that, our loop is pretty much complete, so basically now we'll be doing pretty much one the same thing each and every turn. We'll be using a Jar of Avarice when we are pretty much out of cards to get these continuous spell cards that we use to summon Hamon. Yeah, to get them from the graveyard to our deck, and then we'll draw some more cards to place these continuous spell cards on the field, then we'll summon Hamon again, then we'll use a Swap Frog to get Hamon to our hand, and yeah, rinse and repeat, basically. So basically that's how this deck operates in a nutshell, so... And although Hamon is one of the most tedious monsters to summon, farming-wise, you know, this deck actually goes by pretty fast, simply because it's pretty fun to play around with, you know. You're kinda not getting bored while playing this deck, that's what I noticed, so... Also, word of caution about Jar of Avarice, use it when you have one card in your deck left, simply because of its effect. As you can see, yes, it shuffles 5 cards from your graveyard into your deck, but it also draws a card, and because of this drawing a card effect, you need to have at least one card in your deck when you use Jar of Avarice. That's something that I learned on my own, the hard way. So yeah, don't do the same mistake that I did. Don't use Jar of Avarice when you have 0 cards in your deck. So yeah, before trying out this deck, I was actually experimenting with Crystal Beast engine, because Crystal Beasts, they actually act as continuous spell cards, but for whatever reason I was not having a nice time with that particular deck version, simply because it was not consistent enough. So, but this deck, yes, although you can get maybe around 7 summons per duel with this deck, but this deck works wonders. It's super consistent. So yeah, speaking about Hamon himself, I like the design of all the Sacred Beasts. Basically, Sacred Beasts are these Egyptian god card versions, GX versions, basically, of them, you know. So Hamon kind of represents Ra, the winged dragon of Ra, only not the giant chicken, but giant chicken skeleton, or something like that. So but yes, that's the deck. So yeah, once again, hopefully you have enough patience for this deck, because this deck, although it is slow, it works great. It is pretty consistent, so yeah, definitely have enough patience for it, because it will take you a while to get the map for Hamon. So, and yeah, speaking about the map itself, let me actually show you how it looks like. So let's see, let's check our accessories here. So yeah, there you have it. Here's our Thunderstruck game mat. So it looks actually pretty amazing. So I also have card sleeves for this monster as well. So to get the card sleeves for Hamon, you actually need to annihilate an opponent with Hamon. Basically, you need to perform a finishing blow with it. So that's how you get the sleeves. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this deck, and I'll see you all in the next video. So yeah, happy farming and cheers!